Welcome, Mr. Turner. I'd like to thank you for making to this case conference for your son, Timmy.
Before we start, could everybody introduce themselves? I'll start. I'm Principal Donald Pleasance.
I'm Eddie Fisher. I'm the special education teacher.
I'm Jerry Burnside, and I am the general education teacher.
I'm Robert Turner, Timmy's father.
For due process, Mr. Turner has been previously given a copy of his parental rights issued by the federal and state governments. Do you need another copy, or do you have any questions?
I have a copy, so I'm not in need of another. I do have a question about parental rights as it pertains to federal law. If I decide that the school's decision is not adequate or what I value, do I have the right to deny?
You do. You can deny any recommendations by the school district. This can be done simply by not signing the IEP agreement. We would like to do what is best for the student and be able to work with the parents once, as equally important to achieving that goal.
I would like to thank you again, Mr. Turner, for giving us your time. This case conference is an annual conference for Timmy. As you may remember from Timmy's diagnosis earlier, he has an IEP already, and we'd like to evaluate and change where needed. I would like to start by giving a couple examples of Timmy's strengths. Timmy exhibits positive searching skills as well as some communication with his teacher.
I do see improvement since Timmy went to kindergarten last year. Is there anything else that you have noticed?
We have made some observations since the beginning of the school year. The data is collected through single point and tally charts, as well as flashcard identifications.
Timmy currently has 3 goals. I would like to go over them with you. And then, here's a copy of the goals. The first is response to verbal instruction. The previous IEP states that Timmy is a nonverbal, low-functioning autistic. This was evaluated through a tally chart that was kept by myself and his previous general education teacher. He was asked to make a verbal response when addressed to 4 out of 5 incidences. This has been met. Although Timmy uses nonsense words 5 out of the 6 incidences. We would recommend that Timmy works on his vocabulary and tries to respond with certain terms like yes or okay. We expect that he can accomplish this 4 out of 5 attempts. We intend on evaluating this per incidence. The second goal is to work on Timmy's articulation. This goal also builds on Timmy's vocabulary as well. Timmy was shown 10 single-syllable words with picture representation. Out of those 10 words with picture representation, Timmy was able to identify 8 out of the 10 through pointing. We want Timmy to be able to speak these words and be able to identify all 10. The third goal for Timmy pertains to his behavior. Timmy at times gets frustrated, and it's because of his inability to communicate his needs. The goal is that Timmy will learn to be able to cope with his frustration and be able to deal with it 4 out of 5 of the incidences. Do you have any questions about those goals, Mr. Turner?
Yes. What do you mean 4 out of 5 incidences?
We understand that Timmy has needs, and because of his condition, we don't expect him to be perfect all the time. There's going to be times where he's going to be unable to cope, and that's understandable, but we do want to see significant improvement in his behavior.
And who will keep track of Timmy's goals?
In most cases, I will be keeping record, but it is Mr. Fisher's responsibility to assess and determine, as well as collaborate with me, what is needed.
Are we going to expect Timmy to do this without help?
No, not at all, Mr. Turner. Timmy receives several accommodations.
Yes, and I would be happy to go over those as well. Timmy currently has 4 accommodations that he receives daily. The first that Timmy receives is that he does receive an aid for his transitional periods to help him assist in transitioning. The second is Timmy will see a speech therapist to improve his speech needs. This will be 15 minutes a day, twice a week. Timmy will also be given additional time to complete his tasks, and he also receives verbal instructions during assessment.
That's great, but will this all happen in the special education classroom?
No, Timmy will be spending most of his time in my classroom. According to his IEP, he will receive no less than 8% of his instruction in the general education classroom.
Is he going to be lost in these large classrooms with his classmates?
My classroom only has 20 students, and I will assure you that Timmy will receive fair treatment as it pertains to his instruction.
It is important that Timmy receives a positive modeling example of speech and behavior from his peers. The aide and I will be attending to Timmy throughout the day, so he doesn't lose his individualized instruction. Because it is important that Timmy adheres to his stringent schedule, we will be helping them.
Before we conclude this conference, are there any additional comments?
Before I sign this IEP, I would like to discuss this with my wife. Is it possible for her to meet with any of you if she has any questions?
Of course, we'd be happy to explain any of your questions. Should we arrange another meeting next week?
That will not be necessary. I will have her call for her questions. Mr. Fisher, can I have your number for my wife?
Of course.
Then this concludes this conference. I look forward to working with everyone and ensuring Timmy gets what he needs.
Thank you for all your time.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.